Come on in, guys. Welcome to Sykes' Survivor Talk. I am Ryan Sykes.
And I'm Ryan's brother, Paul Sykes.
And we are here today to discuss our rankings of all 40 seasons. All 40 seasons of our favorite show. Well, at least it's my favorite show. Paul?
Yeah, it's my favorite reality show.
Okay. Yeah, no, agreed. Yeah. There are shows that are superior to Survivor.
Yeah.
But I would say my favorite reality show by a landslide. So all 40 seasons of our favorite show, Survivor. So we'll be talking through each and every episode. This is probably, I would guess, based on how much we've sort of had to a little bit of a pre-chat about, it'll probably be a 2 or 3 part series. You know, you can't keep people around longer than, an hour and a half or whatever. So we'll see how it goes. But we plan on talking through every single season and ranking them. We'll do an amalgamation of rankings based on where we both placed each one of the individual seasons. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. I will preface this by saying that if you're not spoiled for any of the Survivor seasons, any of the 40 Survivor seasons, and you are looking forward to watching those shows and not being spoiled, you need to walk away right now. And look, we love people watching this, but we're going to mess up your lives if you are looking to not be spoiled. We're going to talk about who won the show, various moves throughout the show, when people get voted out, medevac, stuff like that. So you have been forewarned regarding our spoiler policy. This is a heavily spoiled show that we're going to be putting on here, or discussion, I should say. I'll talk a little bit about how we are going to be ranking the various seasons, because of course, Paul and I, just as a heads up, have put together these lists independently. We have not discussed them beforehand, so boy, there's going to be some big surprises that we're looking forward to. I kind of get where Paul is ranked, his top 5 or 6 seasons. I suspect there'll be some crossover there. I'd be surprised if there wasn't any crossover there. But in terms of the lowest ranked seasons, and certainly in the middle area, I don't know. Yeah. I have no idea. And the way that I'd like to sort of do this is, what I'm going to do is list my least favorite season, or my 40th out of 40 ranked season. I'll just name it. All right. Then we're not going to do a big discussion of it, but we're going to turn it over to Paul. Paul will give us his 40th ranked season. Now, if those seasons are the same season, we will then do a bit of a deeper dive, and we'll discuss it for 5 or 6 minutes, however long it takes us to get through that, so I can get some reasoning behind why the season is ranked where it is. And let's say, for example, that those 40th seasons were not the same season. I list a particular season. Paul lists a different season as his 40th favorite season. We don't talk about it at that point. We will continue listing our subsequently higher ranked seasons until at some point both of us have named an individual season. When that point happens, so for example, my 40th favorite season is the same as Paul's 37th favorite season, and we haven't discussed it yet. That's when we'll dive in and we'll start to talk about it. We can discuss why we put it where we put it. And that, I think, is the real interest that's going to be inherent within
that format is so today. Smart. I think you stole it from somewhere.
I may have stolen it from somewhere. I guess I might as well plug a podcast that I love more than this show itself. I guess my favorite series of movies probably would be the James Bond series. And, I've certainly rewatched those movies multiple times, some of them up to 40 times. And this is the James Bonding podcast is the podcast I'm referring to. And this is the ranking system that they employ. I've always found it highly listenable and entertaining, and I think it's a decent enough way. Now, we're going to go through and do that, and then I will provide a final amalgamated ranking of all 40 Survivor seasons. So if you're looking to go back and do a rewatch, you will have 2 people who, I won't say experts. I'm a Survivor lover. I don't know if I'm an expert. Would you consider yourself a Survivor expert?
You know what? I'd go so far as to say that. Fuck it.
Ooh!
I'm not going to be able to name, who was the second boot in Survivor Karamoan, right? Or any specific, low-end
Hope Driscoll. I don't know. Somewhere around there.
So somewhere around there.
I think it's Ali Pohovitz. Ali Pohovitz. That's what I want to say. Okay, we'll see.
It could be. Oh yeah, that's a good call. No, but I think I understand the game as well as you can understand the game, right? Sometimes people have a take that I haven't thought about, and that it'll make me reconsider how I think about it. But for the most part, I'm an expert Survivor at this point.
Do you think you could out superfan Adam Klein?
Not a chance.
There's no way.
No way.
Yeah, but go ahead.
No, I just don't have that the interest in memorizing, like sitting there and for rote memorization about who was eliminated like that. That doesn't interest me.
I do think that's what it boils down to: rote memorization and a dedication to Survivor that honestly would have to cut out all other interests in your life. And I have a
Yeah.
variety of interests. As I mentioned earlier, I enjoy watching James Bond movies. If you couldn't tell, I've got plenty of Star Wars Lego in the background here. So, I mean, just a lot of hot, like sexy, interesting pastimes that, preclude me from being the Survivor Super Duper fan that I would probably love to be.
Absolutely. And I don't have a variety of interests, and that's still too much rote memorization for me.
I hear you, man. I do hear you. And, this is going to be a great amalgamation of the minds. I think we've got enough insight and knowledge to make this entertaining and mildly interesting, but it's not going to be super geeky. So if you have not spent that much time watching the show, hopefully you'll be able to get something out of this. So given that we've got our ranking system discussed, I want to just do a little preface and let you guys know that sort of how Paul and I approached this. We discussed a little bit of what we wanted to do, and neither one of us were willing to commit to going through and rewatching all 40 seasons for this ranking. As discussed, we just have so much shit going on, so it didn't seem like it was a feasible thing to do, especially if we wanted to crank out this show. So basically what we're going on is on our memories of the show, what we remember about the show, how we felt about the show at the time it aired. If we remember anything, there are going to be seasons I can't remember two things about, other than maybe what I heard or what I read about it, or maybe I've even been influenced by reading about these seasons on, Survivor, Reddit, or listening to some other podcast. So, just as a heads up about that, it's this isn't as in depth as maybe some people want to go, but hopefully it makes it a little bit more accessible. I've maybe rewatched 4 or 5 of the seasons over the years, and I think there's a point at which I'd like to rewatch some more of them, and I'll get into that when we get into those particular seasons here in our discussion.
That's more than 500 hours of Survivor.
I mean, if you've seen every single episode of the series, and I don't know exactly how many episodes there are, but do the math. 40 seasons, there's 13 episodes per season. You'd think I could do the math, being an accounting person, but I know. Oh, wait.
Somewhere between 520 and 520. Yeah. Well, but some of those are 2-hour episodes, right? And 3-hour episodes. So
that's correct.
Right, yeah.
But those episodes are only 42 minutes. So anyway, we're splitting hairs here.
Yeah.
It's a massive amount of your free time, which, I'm not saying I couldn't dredge up, but we didn't do it for this podcast, correct?
Yeah. And that's going to be like, you'd have to give me a lead up to get through that many hours. What do you think, about 5-6 months?
You'd need a bunch of months to do it. And It's not a project I'm, wholeheartedly committed to at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I did rewatch Cagayan 2 weeks ago, and I friggin' loved it. I loved every second of it. You can blast through it. You can blast through the challenges. You can just cut to the character pieces. And so it didn't really take that much time. We got through it in a weekend. And it was cool. So
that's how I'd rewatch it too, with a lot of fast forwarding.
As we go through this list, hopefully there's some points that either one of us will bring up, and perhaps that'll sort of drive us into maybe watching a few more seasons. I know there are a few that I've got sort of earmarked to watch going forward. So let's get this started. It's a lot of preamble there, and we're going to get into the main event now. So I will start by listing my 40th favorite season, the least favorite season in the history of Survivor, which, it's a bit of a stinker, honestly. And I did sort of say that, any episode or season of Survivor is better than mostly anything else on TV. I would almost beg to differ with this one. It was interesting to an extent, but not in a good way. So here it is. The 40th favorite season of Survivor was very recent. It was season 39, Island of the Idols. Season 39, Island of the Idols. Paul?
Wow. Yeah, no, can't say I'm blown away by this selection, and we've got a match pretty early here.
Whoa, we got a match already?
We got a match.
Okay.
My least favorite season of all time is number 39, Island of the Islands. And I will preface this by saying that I have not watched a single moment of this season.
Nothing. YouTube clips?
I don't know one cast member from this, except for, of course, Rob and Sandra, the idols.
They weren't really cast on the show. They were just there.
Yeah, they were just there.
Okay.
And The reason why I hadn't watched it is because after Edge of Extinction, I was a little bit out on Survivor because of the Chris Underwood's victory after not knowing who the hell Chris Underwood is. So I thought I'd give it some time before I got back into it. And then the whole sexual harassment thing happened, and it became like an ugly little thing where even, journalists who cover Survivor couldn't watch it till the end. And so people can say, well, how can you rank it without ever seeing an episode? Well, fuck you. Here it is. It's number 40.
Yeah, what are you going to do about it? Start your own stupid Survivor show. Do you know how much work this is? Come on. Oh, critics, I can hear them already. In fact, I can't. I can hear crickets. I'm not hearing any critics, I don't think. This is
you need to get a soundboard for the cricket effect.
I would really love to get a soundboard, and that is something that if I can con my school into paying for under the guise of my needing it to produce tax videos, which is... Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of sound drops you really want when you're producing an advanced accounting.
Misappropriation of funds.
No. You watch. I can pitch it. So, have I lost you here? Well, it looks like I've lost Paul momentarily. So I'll go on to discuss season 39 here, The Island of the Idols. This is the season that nearly killed Survivor for me. I was just like Paul. I was a little bit down on the show of Survivor in general due to the Edge of Extinction, as he mentioned earlier. So, we'll get into my Edge of Extinction ranking very shortly. But yeah, I was almost out on this. If it wasn't for the fact that I knew that Survivor 40 was coming up, I probably would have bailed entirely. I might have just jumped ship. I was running my Survivor pool, and I haven't mentioned this yet, just really quickly, I've run a Survivor pool for 7 years, 14, 15 seasons, something like that. And it's something that keeps me into the show. And, I send out fun emails every week, and, we have a little Facebook group and we chit chat, blah, blah, blah. And if I hadn't been doing the pool, I probably would have stopped watching the show, but the pool became more of a chore for me at that point. And a lot of it had to do with the sexual harassment issue. A lot of it had to do with the Rob and Sandra premise of all the hokey premises. And look, Survivor is a hokey show, and it's full of hokey premises. And if you don't like hokey premises, you really won't like Survivor. And some of them I can dig into, and some of them I just don't know what's going on. So two of the sort of Survivor stalwarts, two of the Survivor Hall of Famers, and Mount Rushmore Survivor, Rob Mariano and Sandra Diaz-Twine, were brought back, but on the show, but not in any kind of playing capacity. They were just there to provide little helpful, quote unquote, helpful hints. And it was just tired, man. Everything that Rob said was canned. It bummed me out so much. It wasn't, there's sexual harassment on the show. That was really disturbing. But more disturbing was the show's response to it and Jeff's response to it overall, which I really didn't think was adequate. I mean, you'd think that if something like this happened, they would have pulled this guy right away. I can't remember this guy's name even. And I struggle to remember a lot of the names and faces from this show and any real memorable cast members. Who was memorable from this show? Elaine? Yeah, you've admitted to not, so you probably don't know one single person from
Not a single person. And I know, I just knew that Jeff Probst was going to be like, isn't this great how Survivor is a reflection of the real world? In the real world, there's sexual harassment. On Survivor, there's sexual harassment. I just couldn't deal with Jeff Probst's hot take on it.
Sure, and we can use Survivor to help address this issue in the overall, in society going forward. Yeah, it's going to be a real talking point between, the families. They market it as a family show, and for the most part, I would think that that's right. I'd let my 8-year-old kid or 6-year-old kid watch Survivor. Who cares? But then something like that comes up, and then you got to explain these issues. And it's not like kids shouldn't be aware of issues like that, but just the way they handle it was super ugly.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right about the way Jeff kind of picks stuff like this up and tries to insert himself into it and become make Survivor some paragon of the anti-sexual harassment movement. Is a real bummer. Do you even know who won the show?
No, I didn't even bother looking it up.
There you go. So I can't think they haven't brought anybody back from the show. Obviously, it was so recent, but they certainly didn't. They could have brought this guy back for the all-winter season. They did not. His name was Tommy. He's my least respected winner of all time ever.
Wow.
He was so boring.
Wow.
I like Bob. I don't care. I've met Bob in real life. He's a lovely man. He's very interesting. I'll get into Bob. I'll talk about Bob. But this guy, I couldn't tell you one thing about him. He's a ginger school teacher. I'm sure he played fine. I was just so tuned out on the show by that point that I just didn't really give this. I don't think you'll ever see him play again. I don't think you'll see almost anyone from this season play again. There are one or two kind of weirdos that I think have an outside shot. There's someone named Nora who was on the show who was just a real lunatic, like a Debbie Wanner type character, but younger and more attractive, but like loopy as hell.
Right.
So there's a possibility, but yeah, I even wrote down, I think this is my least respected winner ever, even below Bob. It's written here in text. So, yeah. All right, so we agree. There's no question as to what the least favorite Survivor season is going to be. I turn it over to you to see if you have any more comments on it. But
yeah, I've just a couple quick things to say. Like, I think this is a concept I think probably stolen from Big Brother. The having the advisor capacity. I think they used this in a season of Big Brother where they brought 2 attorneys back and had them as advisors. Although I think in the Big Brother they were allowed to get back into the game.
Yeah. Would you have wanted that? Would you have wanted Rob and Sandra in the game at some point?
No, I don't like tinkering with the formula too much. And also, we've seen enough Rob and Sandra at this point, considering they were going to be on the next season too, right?
Yeah, that's a real 1-2 punch to the gut of characters that have been kind of ground into the dirt. Yeah, I mean, I think if they were going to have them on, I think it would have been more interesting to see them come in around the merge or something like that. You talk about tinkering with the format. Man, you must really hate Modern Survivor because it does not reflect in any way, shape, or form the original premise of the game. And I think, to go on and continue to enjoy the show, you kind of have to accept that. But there's varying degrees of acceptance. And hey, I mean, you can bow out now. Hey,
no, I'm in it for the long haul now.
Hey, there you go. I like to hear that. All right, speaking of the long haul, that covers one season of Survivor. Let's continue on, where I will now give you. You're good on 40? You're good on season 39?
Yeah, I haven't seen an episode. What do I have to say about it?
Yeah, I don't like it. Okay, so I am now going to list my 39th favorite season. My 39th favorite season of all time is the 5th season of Survivor Thailand.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, what? You think too low?
No, you know what? Not that low. We'll see. We'll see.
Okay, let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
All right. So go ahead.
I'll weigh in with mine now, and then we'll wait till it get hit. Okay, so my number 39 ranked season of Survivor is the 38th season, The Edge of Extinction.
Ooh, okay. Interesting. The Edge of Extinction. Great. Probably not a fan favorite. Edge of Extinction. All right. Well, that is good to know. We are going to move on, and I will now discuss. So this is how it works, folks. If we don't get a match, we don't get a hit. We're just going to keep talking until that season comes up on both of our radars, and then that's when we get into our deep dive. So my 38th ranked season of Survivor, meaning my third least favorite, is Survivor 38, The Edge of Extinction.
Whoa.
Ding, 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 ding.
Didn't take long. Yeah.
Boy, there's not a lot of discrepancy here. I don't know how interesting this is going to be for people, but okay.
We'll get some later for sure.
I think we'll get some big variances as we go on. So, all right, why don't you start out talking about The Edge of Extinction? Okay.
This season actually shouldn't be that low. It actually has some decent characters in it, I think. I think Rick Devens is fantastic in it.
Devens is an all-time character. I really think he's really, really good. Yeah.
Yeah. I think War Dog is fun as a Tony wannabe for parts of it.
He's a pretty low-rent Tony, but he's a
low-rent Tony. But he makes a lot of things. He tries to make a lot of things happen, right? By this point, I'm Kelly Wentworth out. I don't think
I was Kelly Wentworth out a long time ago.
Yeah, me too. I didn't really need to see Aubrey in this capacity, and David, I would like to see him probably play in a full All-Star season as opposed to this kind of like sitting duck All-Star season.
Right.
But the two big flaws, I think, I'll just go them quickly and you can elaborate them on the two big flaws. They just spend too much of the narrative at Extinction Island. You don't get to know any of the characters. I forgot half the cast already, and this is only 2 seasons ago. I'm not going senile yet.
I have written down here, name 3 non-returning players.
Right.
Okay, besides Rick Devens or whatever.
Yeah,
but it's
Rick
really
Devens and War Dog.
Sure. Which is not his real name. Give me War Dog's real name.
I have no idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Not a clue. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
that's Dan De Silva.
Oh, I would have no idea. That sounds like a character from another episode of another season of Survivor.
It does.
Yeah, someone from Nicaragua. That's a big flaw, the narrative, and also the fact that someone won the game who I had no idea who he was until he came back in the final episode.
Okay, I don't disagree. unfortunately, it's fun when there's disagreement, but I don't really disagree. And, you're going to get a lot of this now. In your assessment of this season, this is where Survivor, it had been going downhill in some respects for some time for me. It really went off a precipice here when I realized that I might not be watching the show forever, because you talk about tinkering with the formula. This is the ultimate tinkering with the formula. You didn't really give an opinion on what you thought of the Edge of Extinction. What's your take on that as a conceit on the show?
Well, as a conceit to get back in the game, I mean, I'm not a complete purist. I didn't mind it back in Pearl Islands when they brought 2 returning players back. I didn't love it. It's just more that the amount of time they spend there and how much it disrupts the narrative, and how much you have to divide the time up. This character at its this show at its best really gives a full story for everyone, and not even First Boots. At least they used to spend that episode and kind of explaining why they were rankling their tribe, and you just kind of got to know everyone. So I could go back to early seasons and list probably 3/4 of the cast. I can name 3 people in this one, and that's largely because of Extinction Island, or Edge of Extinction.
Yeah, so the premise to me was frustrating from the get-go. I don't really, I'm not like what are these never edgers that you'll hear about in podcasts where they're like, never Edge of Extinction, you can't do it, you can't have people being voted out and returned to the game. Hey, newsflash, everyone, that's been around since season 7, right? Sure, fine, it's not the end of the world. I don't really give a shit if people come back into the game. The way people came back into the game here, to me, when you have a couple shots at it and then you have all of these people, as long as they stick around, they get on the jury, I don't care for that much at all. And I think maybe I'll talk more about this when we get into Winners at War, because I think it affected the season more adversely. Sure, somebody who got voted out won this season. I don't really care about that. Like, if Devins had won, it wouldn't really be a problem for me. This guy got, whatever. No disrespect to the great Chris Underwood, but he comes back pretty late in the game, plays. I seriously, I have nothing bad to say about Chris Underwood. Okay, so here's a newsflash. I had never watched the finale. I watched the entire show, and then I didn't watch the finale because I knew what happened. And I was like, I don't want to see this. It's I don't know what that's akin to when you sit through an entire, maybe Game of Thrones. If I'd watched, I don't care. The entire, however many, 8 seasons or whatever, Game of Thrones. But then knowing how the final couple episodes shake out, if I had any idea, I would just been like, yeah, I'm not going to bother. And I don't think anybody's going to revisit something like that because it was such a train wreck. And this, to me, was kind of the antithesis of the heart of the show. Mm-hmm. So I did watch it 2 weeks ago. I thought, screw it. This is part of the game now. It's been a blind spot for me. So I went back and watched it. And hey, that guy, I can't say anything bad about that guy. He played the best possible Edge game you can play. He played better than any of the other stiffs on that show. Name the final 3. Who cares, right? Julie Rosenberg and Gavin. The pineapple shirt guy. That's the only thing I can tell you about Gavin. He wore a shirt with pineapples on it. I couldn't tell you one thing about Julie. I can tell you a million things about Rick Devens. Number one, Rick Devens is going to play multiple times on the show. But outside of that, the premise just bummed me out. And I thought, this I might be done. As I was doing the Survivor pool, I really thought, like, this is becoming a chore. I'm writing these emails every week, and it's not really that fun, despite the fact that there was a lot of stuff going on. Like, how many things can I write about the great Gavin Whitson?
So much to say.
Well, it's just not. I said it, pineapple shirt, right? So, I also really don't care for having a couple returning players on the season. I think they're at such an incredible disadvantage now, given how many super fans you cast on the show. The players you mentioned, okay, the luster's off Aubrey. Leave Aubrey out for a while. Bring Aubrey back in 6 or 7 years. That's interesting when you have people having grown as human beings. But, I don't blame Aubrey. Aubrey can't say no to coming back. That's fair. Although I think she would now. I think she's super burnt out on the show. Mm-hmm. I didn't need to see her. I didn't need to see Kelly Wentworth. I do like David Wright. It's fine. I don't think this is the right season to bring him back in, but David Wright loves the show. He wants to be back. Who's the other guy? Joe.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Yeah. Joe was on the season.
Right? Yeah. Maybe Joe had 3 confessionals. I will reserve my discussion of Joe for future seasons because I don't think there's much to say about him here.
I will just say that in terms of long-haired super hunks, I'm more of a Malcolm man myself.
Oh, come on, Malcolm any day of the week. I couldn't. I have a, an interesting, not an interesting take on this, but my sort of take is versus Ozzy. Like, I know a few things about Ozzy's personality. He is the guy that he is. Like,
Yeah.
and I can elaborate on that later on when we talk about him. But I could tell you like 5 things about Ozzy as a person. I can't tell you one thing about Joe England. I don't
Not a
know
single
why
thing.
he's so popular. So I want to hold on to this discussion
Yeah.
because I think it warrants further discussion because it's a frustrating thing for me. So I've finally seen the finale. It's a pretty interesting finale. I can't tell people not to watch this, but only as something that's so bad it's kind of good, right?
Yeah. As
Go
a
ahead.
final thing that I'll say to this is that like Chris Underwood does everything he possibly could in the time he's given to win the season. But no one should be coming back into the game with that late in the game. And you've made the point before that you're on board with Edge of Extinction if the latest someone comes back in with is the merge. And I think that's the right amount of time that you still have to play a lot of the game.
Yep. And then you wipe the board clean, you close shop on Edge of Extinction, you say goodbye to those people, you send them on the pre-jury trip, and they don't get on the goddamn jury.
Yeah.
Or maybe
that's the way to do it.
Do a fun thing where like the second runner-up in the challenge gets to be on the jury or something. But you can't have the first person voted out being on the goddamn jury. It doesn't make any sense. We've seen this in Winners at War. It affects the game in a way that is detrimental to the spirit of the game. So I don't much care for it. And look, none of these are hot takes, but we're just ranking the seasons the way we saw them. All right. So let's put that puppy to bed. We are now going to. Well, you got to give us your 38th ranked season.
All right. At number 38, I have the shit show that is Survivor Nicaragua, the 21st season.
Okay, Survivor Nicaragua. We will mark that down, and we will move on to. And I just have to make a quick little note of where Paul ranked that, and then we'll move on because this is the first time we've gone through something like this. So I'm going to move on to my 37th ranked season now. We're cruising through these things.
Cruising. Wow.
Cruising. 5-10 per. All right. My 37th ranked season is Survivor One World.
Wow.
Okay. Survivor One World.
All right. So my number 37th ranked season is shockingly Survivor One World.
Oh! Ding, 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 ding. Are you surprised by any of my picks?
I'm surprised we're this close, but then sometimes we just have to we're on the same wavelength and we don't even know it.
I know, but we just didn't discuss any of this.
We didn't discuss any of this. I know.
I didn't think. Oh my God, this is so funny. Okay, why don't you lead off the discussion of Survivor One World? Okay,
Survivor One World. I think I can sum up best in it's just so ugly because of Colton. Right? This is despicable human being that they decided to bring back, and it really taints the season. There's also a couple of people that aren't really playing the game. I don't know what Tarzan is doing. Right? There's some people don't even know what show they're on, like Leaf and Kat. It's just, and then, I guess Kim plays a great game, but she plays a great game against morons. So, okay.
Yeah, tough to get into the gameplay on this. Again, Kim's, I think, a likable winner, and it was really interesting to see her recently, to see how she would respond to players that, had an IQ above 74, which is I think it was the average for that. I think they released that publicly. 74 was the average of the One World cast. And I think she responded well. Kim wasn't in a good position, but we'll talk about Winners at War later on. So I do, it's not like I disrespect her win. It's considered by many to be the most masterful win in the history of the show. Debatable, but people put it up there towards the top. This is just the dumbest cast ever assembled. And, they've got some real doozies out there, but oh boy. So you mentioned Tarzan, who is actually a very smart guy, but what is he doing there? I have no idea. The guy's a plastic surgeon. He's just a weird character. He doesn't really, I don't think he's into the game.
No.
Remotely, you've got the Christina Chaz of the world. You've got, a hugely despicable character in Alicia Rosa.
Yeah.
Kat Ederson is painful to listen to and painful. I mean, I guess she's kind of cute in some ways, but she really doesn't come across well. Leaf Manson is Yeah, we got Jay Byers. I guess easy on the eye, not
You
too
know,
bright. Moving to, and I'll kill it. It's Colton Cumby here, who, yeah, I feel as strongly as you do about Colton. And
it,
look, I'm sure in some realm he popped in casting, and I see why a guy like that is cast. He comes out and he's not just a villain, which I love. I love a villain. All right. This guy isn't, but he's like a villain in real life. He's not just a villain. And why do we like villains? Because they scheme, they don't form necessarily emotional bonds with other players. They make moves that, the average person would consider underhanded in order to gain an advantage in a game that rewards people for gaining advantages. This guy's just a racist asshole.
yeah.
You know, he's a horrible human being, and comes from this life of privilege where he's got servants. I hate rich people, and I get the sense that this guy's pretty rich,
Yeah.
and just is so out of touch with reality. And some of the things that came out of his mouth were unrelatable in any way. And so I see. At what point do you get production in there being like, yeah, you can't be here anymore? It's happened one time. Is this a case where it should have happened?
Should have happened.
I kind of think so. The Bill Posley vote out, which Colton leads, is the weirdest vote out that makes no sense in the history of Survivor. Where, just to remind people, this tribe of all men won the immunity challenge, and at Colton's behest and finagling, decided, despite the fact that they won the immunity challenge, they were going to give up immunity to the female tribe and then go into the tribal council just to vote out this guy Bill, who is by all accounts like a perfectly likable guy.
Yeah.
Just ridiculous.
And what was really even more gross about it is that everyone was kind of backing Colton's racism, but not specifically his racism, but they backed him throughout that entire thing, right? It just kind of tainted everyone, and everyone in that entire male tribe became instantly unlikable.
Totally, and they never recovered from that.
No.
There's nobody that I look back on that cast who I think is a redeemable person, who is specifically on that tribe. I do like Troyzan. I don't know. He was kind of crap on his second season, but I've listened to interviews with him. He is an interesting character, and he is somebody who does genuinely love the show. He just had no shot anywhere in here. No one would make moves with him. Here's the problem with the character like Troy. He's a big character, and he wants to make some moves, but Kim had all these morons just following her, mindlessly, and were refusing to play. Just didn't play the game. And as you state, the gameplay is just atrocious on this. Poor gameplay across the board. Shockingly, 5 of the players have returned to play again, including Colton, which makes me so mad, which really does a number. I mean, he's one of the terrible casting choices on Caramoan, but easily the worst. Maybe not the worst on Caramoan, but definitely in there. Just unconscionable that they brought this guy back. But why? I mean, why isn't this dead last? Because it doesn't have overt sexual harassment, and it doesn't have an Edge of Extinction twist.
Yeah, I mean, it was only about, I think, 7 or 8 years ago this aired, wasn't it? Something like that. But you never get away
with
the
20s.
Yeah, you wouldn't put Colton back on the air now. It's amazing how quickly things change.
Yeah, he really pulled the wool over casting's eyes to get on the show to begin with. I don't know if they have a sharper screening process now, wherein you could, have some kind of a, hey, we're going to show pictures of people of various different ethnic backgrounds. How does that make you feel?
They should start implementing that.
Yeah, press the color that you feel: yellow, green, red. So, the less said about this season, the better. I was glad to see Kim come back and give it another run. That's it. There's nothing else I need to say about this. You?
No, I'm good.
Good. So that is very exciting. We are going to move on to my 36th ranked season of all time. 36th ranked is Survivor Redemption Island. Survivor Redemption Island.
Oh, come on.
What?
That's the exact same 36th ranked season I have, a Survivor Redemption
You hear
Island.
that? It's people. They're hanging up their headphones and they're finding
This is
something else to
rigged.
listen to.
This is rigged.
Yeah, no, they're going to listen to something else entirely.
Wow.
It's over. Yeah, they're going to go listen to the Why So and So Lost Survivor with Jessica Lewis and David Bloomberg.
It's a hard listen.
Yeah, I'm not going to throw some fellow podcasters under the bus, but okay. So let's talk about. Look, let's do it. It's certainly gonna get mixed up sooner or later. Survivor Redemption Island. Why don't you give us the preamble for this thing?
Okay. There's some elements that could have made this a good season, but a lot of your tolerance for the season is going to depend on how much you can stomach Philip Shepard. Right?
I thought you were going to say Boston Rob.
Well, no, and also how much you think that this was just kind of a rigged vanity project for Boston Rob. Other than that,
does Rob call up Matt Van Wagenen or Jeff Probst like, hey Jeff, I got an idea for you. Listen, call Russell. I got a bunch of dummies. I
think it might have something to do with that. We'll talk about this when we talk about heroes versus villains. But this is part of my conspiracy about heroes versus villains. This season set up for Raw to just like knock it down, knock it out of the park. Okay, one thing I will say in this season's defense, it gives us the last of Russell Hantz.
This season, without a doubt, shows that Russell Hantz will never have a shot at actually winning Survivor. I mean, there's no permutation of reality in which Russell Hantz can win. Do you legitimately think we'll never see Russell Hantz play Survivor again? Because of this?
You know what? I think that they'll be, just because of after Me Too, the Me Too movement, and then things being a little more sensitive now because of the sexual harassment thing. I think that Russell Hantz is always on the borderline of sexually harassing someone.
Yeah, but has he ever, at least, publicly, and certainly not on the show, he's called people stupid. Go back to Borneo, and Jervis says women are the dumbest things next to cows. They bring Jervis back.
That's true. But that was before. I think they're going to be very, very have a lot of trepidation about bringing someone as dicey as Russell back. But you could be right.
Look, I got a great idea. We're going to have a cast of 16-year-olds and Russell Hantz.
Class action lawsuit.
I think that Russell has a much better chance of playing again than somebody like Richard, who's I don't think ever going to get a shot again. I think Survivor still thinks there's some element to Russell that people want to see again. I think if you're casting a Legends season, there's no way that his name is not in the mix for that. I think an interesting discussion for us someday would be to let's cast a Legend season.
Right. I like to do that.
20, I'd say 20 people. Even you want to throw 24 in there, I don't care, right?
Yeah.
You have 20 and then you have some alternates or something.
Legends do 4 tribes of 6 to start.
Great. Yeah, I got no problem with that. I don't know why they're not doing that already. They should have done it for Winners at War, but okay, so maybe they can learn something from this. I don't know if they want to do it, but they really don't. They need to take some talking points from other international versions of the show where they have tried having a few more people on. Mm-hmm. They kind of think that they're writing the script on Survivor, but there are people who have done better versions of some of the twists in the show. So okay, so boy. Redemption Island. Yeah. I think this is when I started running the pool. So I think this is probably the first time I had a crack at running the pool. So I had a vested interest in it. And I was actually cheering for Rob in some sense. I liked him on Heroes Villains. I did like him in All Stars even.
Yeah.
He's a compelling character. There's a reason that, they're selling torches on eBay right now from Winners at War. Someone idiot's bidding $16,000 for Rob Mariano's Winners at War torch the last time I checked on eBay. So
right.
He's for sure. And look, I think we should reserve deep dive discussions of Russell and Rob and whoever else for maybe their original seasons or the highest ranking season that we have.
Yeah.
So I don't want to get too deep into, the Rob Mariano of it all, but I was cheering for Rob to an extent because I do find him a compelling individual and character, as do many other people. I think there is some horrendous casting on this, just garbage casting in terms of some real zeros.
Yeah, that Zapatero tribe had very little personality going for it.
The Zaps, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
The Mike Cheezels of the world. What are you talking
Yeah.
about? Julie Wolfe, Ralph Kaiser. My God, these are amazing household names at this point.
The dearth of charisma.
Oh, I mean, maybe they all got through casting. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is the show doing a ton of recruits at this point? Does Boston Rob say, I got a bunch of people I know from my neighborhood. They're terrible. Bring them in.
That's how I assume this was cast.
I mean, look at your final 4 or 5. Ashley Underwood, Natalie Tenorelli.
They're both Boston Rob's neighbors.
They probably, yeah, absolutely. Living down the street from Boston Rob.
Oh.
Yeah, every time Boston Rob has a new, they probably live at his complex. He has a new daughter. He has to kick out one of the Natalie Tenorellis and go and stand on.
Grant is the groundskeeper.
So Philip Shepard, you mentioned, does stand out. I don't know. You talk about tolerance level for Phil Shepard. What's your tolerance level for a Philip Shepard?
I think in this season, I think this is just a zany character who worked well in this season, to be honest. Like, I think there were times when you like the fact that there was something happening. It was happening because this guy is a lunatic. When you start to become self-aware of that, and in his next season, he really plays into it. And then I think it becomes a lot more insufferable. But yeah, I'll give him this season, but yeah, it's still kind of a paint by the numbers season.
Yeah, I do think he's a fun character. I think he's playing a character. I really think that there's part of that in him, but he knows what he's doing and he wants to be on TV. He is a recruit. Famously, he was rollerblading through Santa Monica, and some producer saw him. Was like, "You got to be," because he was wearing those pink underwear while he was rollerblading. No, I don't know. He just maybe stood out for some reason. So I'm not the hugest Phil Shepard fan. I don't think they should have brought the guy back, but whatever. He made for fun TV, and it was tolerable. The one thing that bugged me about that Phil Shepard was he pulled the race card at some point against like Steve Wright or somebody.
It was against Steve Wright, yeah.
Just like, come on, man. Are you just trying to make a moment on TV? Because
yeah, he was.
I'm sure Steve Wright's probably we played in the NFL or whatever. Like, really, is Steve Wright a racist? Okay, not that Survivor won't cast racists, but
yeah. But Steve Wright, all Steve Wright said was like, "Oh, you're crazy," and he took that as like a
that's right.
Kind of, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
So if I call you crazy, does that make me a reverse
absolutely.
racist?
Absolutely, it does.
You're crazy. Yeah. Call. I don't know. I don't know who you're supposed to call. Who do you call when there's a racist thing that happens? Jesse Jackson. Oh no, wait, that doesn't work.
Either Reverend.
Yeah.
Reverend Jesse Jackson. Yeah.
Yeah. Or right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think I'm going to stay away from this topic.
Let's stay away from this topic. Right. We don't know anything about this at all. Maybe, you know what? I'm not Philip Shepard. I wasn't sitting in his shoes. I just saw what I saw on TV. Maybe there was more racist stuff.
Maybe there was more stuff behind the scenes, but yeah.
Could be. Yeah. All we saw was the word crazy, and to me, that's not racist, but okay.
Yeah.
What else? Andrea comes out of the show. Do you like Andrea?
You know what? I think they have a hard time bringing back a lot of female contestants, and I think as far as women who really pop on screen, I think Andrea, she was the cute girl next door, and I think she has enough of a personality. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I like seeing Andrea on subsequent seasons. She's like a sweet person who is kind of unassuming and does try to play the game a little bit. And I think has grown as a human being. And I like listening to podcasts with her. She's interesting. And she's spun a pretty good career out of having been on Survivor. And I think that's, the best you could hope for from the show for a lot of these people. She's probably—
Doesn't she always finish in the exact same spot?
Pretty much the same spot every time.
Yeah.
Although she was voted out and she got back in. I think she would have made the jury anyway. I think she was voted out, I don't know, 14th. And then she got back in and was voted out almost immediately. She might have been immune or something like that. So we had the whole Matt Elrod saga, which I don't really much care for. You know what I don't like is religion on Survivor. Matt Elrod is a very religious guy. I just don't think it plays any part in the narrative. I can't stand when they play it up. I get a large part of their audience is like middle America, but it just makes me queasy. I don't like to hear it. And this was a large part of his saga playing.
It's gross, and I'm shocked he hasn't played again.
He doesn't want to. Oh, are you kidding me? There's no way that guy would play again. He had a horrible time. He's changed his name to Wyatt Nash. He stars in, not stars in, but I guess he does TV series and stuff. Okay. Look up Wyatt Nash. Like he's a whole different person. He wanted to leave this behind him. I don't think unless his career really takes a turn for the worse, I doubt that he's coming back. And I think he's too far in the rearview mirror now for anyone to consider him. But like, subsequent to maybe he makes it on a Blood versus Water or something like that.
Right.
But I'm really thankful that we never got to see him again. So this twist in this is another reason I don't really care for this and I rank it so low is it really kicks off the players returning into the game era like consistently. Yeah, we saw it in season 7 and we don't really see it again until now. And I don't like it. I don't like how much. Same thing with Edge of Extinction. Takes up too much time because you got to try and tell stories of people over there on the whatever the other part, and they take up so much time with these Redemption Island challenges. And I didn't give a shit who won any of these challenges, quite frankly. And the challenges clearly favored certain people over others. You know why it's there, because Rob's like, I'm not coming back unless you give me a chance to get back in the game every time I get voted out. So, they build in Redemption Island for Russell and Rob to maybe stay in the game. Backfires for Russell. Not an incredible physical specimen. Not notoriously good at any kind of challenge whatsoever. Mental, physical, whatever. So it doesn't work as the producers, I think, suspect it's going to work. All right, you want to tinker around a little bit. I remember hating it. I still hate it.
It's still terrible. It doesn't make for good TV. The challenges aren't particularly dynamic. It takes a lot of time. I think this is the reason they got rid of and they had the joint immunity and reward challenges was because of the time spent.
You have to. Yeah, what are you going to do? 3 challenges in a show? You got your Redemption Island challenge, and then you got your reward, and then you got your immunity? I don't know. I like challenges to an extent. I like watching them. I'm kind of happy that reward challenges have there are elements of reward challenges I like. Yeah, every third show do a reward challenge.
Yeah.
I did learn on Winners at War recently that they did have a reward challenge, I think at Final 6 or something like that never made the air. A bunch of people ran on the reward. But now if it doesn't affect the gameplay at all, they just cut it. I'm like, okay, well.
I'm okay with that.
Sure. Yeah, you know what? That's fine. Or, make that secret scenes. There's so many ways they can use secret scenes. Or like, let's do Survivor twice a week. And the second one is just going to be like, that's for super fans. They can watch it on a Monday. It's stuff that we cut that didn't really make the floor. And maybe it enhances the story or something like that. I don't know. There's a number of things I could do other than water down the actual show that we're watching. Any other memorable moments from Redemption Island for you or commentary that you had?
I mean, there was a couple of fun moments. I really liked when Matt Elrod got back in the game and they voted him out immediately. That's a really great tribal council moment. There's some fun friction, like before it got with the racist stuff with Philip and his pink panties and yelling at people for not doing enough around camp. There is a little bit of fun stuff there, but mostly it's a paint by the numbers, boring affair.
Agreed. There are not a lot of surprising vote outs. I will say that it had one of the most uncomfortable moments in reunion history when mediocre player David Murphy proposes to another former Survivor contestant who happens to be in the audience who he's been dating a little bit. And this person did not, Carolina, did not see this coming at all. Felt so uncomfortable. Was kind of forced into saying yes. I mean, David Murphy's trying to pull a Boston Rob from All Stars reunion here, and it just bites him in the ass. Maybe David Murphy has a shot at returning at some point. Not after this. It's just, it's so ugly.
It's so bad.
Hard to watch, and the look on her face of just sheer horror because they film these things live, and it's just so nasty. And then, so here's a fun little piece of information. So I guess she accepts this marriage proposal. I don't know how into it she is, but it turns out that David Murphy has secretly been banging Alicia Rosa. And this comes out, and you can go back and read somewhere. It's listed on the internet how Carolina or whatever her name is totally outs him and shows all these text messages about what happened. And then David Murphy publicly makes this tear-filled apology or whatever. And it just escalates this thing into the ultimate awkwardness, which is another reason. And I don't think David Murphy's a compelling character. He was intelligent, but would he have come back? There's a 0% chance after all of that.
He's one of those guys you watch during the season and he gets voted out and you say, you know what? Maybe this guy could come back another season, but then you forget about him about 2 days after the season's over.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people like that. And that's interesting. sort of another interesting topic for maybe a future discussion, which is the worst returning players of all time. There have been over 100 players now who have played 2 times or more. Some of those players are terrible.
Yeah, well, we can only bring up Joey Amazing so many times.
Oh, I wouldn't throw him in there. I think he's got some appeal. I wouldn't throw him in there. There are a number of people who I will throw in there. None of them from this season. I think the people who came back, I get why they came back. I wouldn't even throw Phil Shepard in there, but they're out there. Okay, that's it for me on Redemption Island. I would have a very hard time watching this one again. All the ones we've talked about, I just don't know. I just don't know if I could watch again.
No.
Okay, so that was season 36. Was that 36 for both of us?
It was, yeah.
Shoot. Okay, well, I'm going to get down to 35 then. My season, my 35th favorite season of Survivor is Survivor, the 21st season of Survivor, which is Survivor Nicaragua.
Oh, now we get stuck over Nicaragua. Yeah. A lot of matches at the bottom of the order here.
Wow, I think how many? Okay, there's only one we haven't kind of got through yet, which is Thailand, but this is really funny. All right, so we'll get into Nicaragua. Then this is season, as I said, season 21. It immediately followed Heroes versus Villains. I'll let you start out on this one.
Okay, there's one semi-likable person on this cast, and that depends on how much you like Marty Piambo, right? Everyone else is just an awful, awful person to watch. I don't know about the early votes and whatnot. I can't remember that far back, but Nananka is brutal. Just an obnoxious personality. And then we have...
it's almost a racist bit of casting because it just doesn't really... It's not a good representation of, that community, if you want to call that community a community. It just really played into stereotypes, and I didn't like that a lot. I felt that was ugly. There are interesting elements of Nayanka as a human being, and she provided a lot of interesting moments on the show, but as some kind of like a stereotypical character, I didn't much care for it. I mean, the first thing I wrote about Nicaragua was this is an unlikable and unmemorable cast, and I think there's a theme here in what we've been talking about, is that it's the cast that makes the show. It's not Goofy Twist. It's not pulling idols out of your ass. It's not Redemption Island or whatever you're trying to bring into this, having your wife there or whatever. It's the characters on the show. And this is just a lousy cast full of lame characters. The aforementioned Shannon Elkins, who is the second boot, stands out as a particular douche. And I think a fun episode or a fun discussion for us in the future would be top 10 Survivor douches of all time.
Well,
but you already know who the winner is going to be. So I don't know what the point is, because it's going to be this guy. I think if we're doing that, we can have some graphics up and we can show that. I toyed with the idea of putting graphics up and here's a picture of this guy, here's a picture of that guy. I don't have that stuff at my command, and I don't have a fun little board for that yet. But go ahead and look up Shannon Elkins. He looks like a horrible douche. He's got like a puffy lipped face, and he's the second person out, but why do I remember him? Because he just was said all these homophobic things early on in the show. And I mean, as you've said, I think in the past, those aren't the worst things that he said. Yeah, no,
he said a bunch of really, I forget exactly what he said, but at one point he said, "Are you gay?" And they're like, "Oh, because we don't have a lot of those where I'm from, or we have a lot more of those where you're from." Just a piece of shit.
He assumed that because the sash was from New York, that he was gay.
Yeah.
And then from Louisiana, which is also the home of Russell Hantz. So.
Right. But and then they talked about who had been with more ladies, and it was just an uncomfortable, gross tribal council. Yeah.
Oh, unbelievable. So, as you say, not many standout characters in the show. I mean, I'm looking through the list here. I mean, is Benry a good player?
No, Benry should be on the douche list too, probably.
Benry's probably on the douche.
He called to that girl the dirt squirrel. That was my takeaway from that's the only thing I remember about Benry. When he voted Alina out, he said, "You are 100% a dirt squirrel." And I had no idea what they meant. I looked up in the Urban Dictionary, and
it's not good.
It's not good.
It's something that shouldn't have made the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't call somebody like, you're like a gigantic whore, That wouldn't make
No, that
the
wouldn't make
cut
the show.
because it's not something that's family friendly. But I think the producers didn't know what that meant, and I didn't know what it meant. I thought it was funny. I still think it's funny, but it's I don't know. It's
Well,
just
good for
really
Benry getting it by the censors.
well, yeah. It's funny when stuff like that gets into the show. What else? Yeah, like you say, like a hateful cast. Even
Yeah.
Marty, who I like a lot. Marty's probably for me the stand-up player. I wrote him down here. There's some good sort of battles between Marty Piombo and some of the other characters in the game, which I enjoyed. And his attempts to drive the gameplay were interesting. I don't know. This is one of the least. Again, the winner of this season kind of taints it. He is terrible, but amongst the people that he was up against, including Chase, Rice, and Sash, I can see why he won, although I think Chase got a few votes. Is Chase Rice the most famous person to have been kind of discovered on Survivor?
Yeah, and I think he was probably only there to be discovered on Survivor.
Oh, you remember the reunion?
I don't actually.
Well, they gave Chase Rice like 3 or 4 minutes to just play Chase Rice songs.
Oh.
Hey, Chase, you want to play us out to commercial? And then Chase gets up there and they play. I mean, I don't know. He is huge now.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about country music, nothing. But
No.
because of the fact that I follow the show somewhat,
Yeah.
I know that this guy's enormous. And you look him up every once in a while. I don't know, I can click on his name right now. Oh boy. I mean, what am I going to find out about this guy? He's got #1 country singles, which honestly topped the charts in 2019.
Wow. I had no idea this guy was big.
He's ripping up the charts. Apparently, he does all these tours. He's got a bunch of albums. Look, I don't know. Not like a Chase Rice fan. So, it's really hard to remember people from the show. They have. This is telling. When you have only one person returning from your season, and that person is Brenda Lowe, your season sucked.
Yeah, because she really was terrible next season.
Yeah, and she was fine on this, but she wasn't really that standout of a character. There's reasons somebody like Brenda Lowe comes back, and it's because she's easy on the eyes and okay. They were really struggling for female characters at this point who were articulate and
just to stand out
savvy.
on camera.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, if she's the most memorable person of the show and the only person that's come back, you have a terrible season. It's regarded as one of the worst and most unwatchable seasons. I can't see ever watching this one again. There's an outside chance, but I really, 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 really doubt it. So you had your famous quits with Nayanka and Purple Kelly, who has maybe got 3 confessionals the entire show. I don't even know what else to say in terms of people who are interesting on this. I'm glancing through this list, and it's pretty awful. Oh, maybe notable for the fact that Jimmy Johnson, famous TV broadcaster, NFL former player, and then broadcaster, very famous man, old man, Jimmy Johnson, who was 67 at the time, was on the show and just petered out really, really, really quickly.
Who could see that coming?
Yeah, I don't care for stunt casting. You want to get a little... I heard a little... this is going to date the show, but no one's listening to this tomorrow, much less 3 years from now. Maybe one of the ideas for doing a Survivor that's a domestic version of Survivor because they can't film it abroad is now's the time for the Celebrity Survivor.
Yeah, you know what? That's so funny. I was thinking about this in the shower before when I got up this morning. I was like, but then I thought they did that in Your Survivor, Get Me Out of Here, and you'd still be dealing with the same type people. You'd be dealing with we got Tia Tequila and the 4th Baldwin brother. I don't know if it's Billy or no one's. You're not getting Jay-Z and Tom Hardy coming out to do Survivor.
You're not even getting Jake Busey, right? Yeah. You're getting an even lesser Busey. On something like this, you're scraping really deep into the Busey barrel. So maybe there are a few high-profile lovers of Survivor. Neil Patrick Harris loves Survivor. Tyler Perry loves Survivor. Mayim Bialik loves Survivor. Adam Scott famously loves Survivor. I'd like to see Adam Scott on Survivor. I think that would be good TV. I think he would do it.
Haven't we seen him? Didn't he win Survivor China?
Oh.
Kind of similar.
I guess we don't need to see him. Yeah, that's the reason he can never get cast. It's like, you're too Todd-like. No, sorry. I've seen it once before. That breaks poor Adam Scott's heart. Yeah, okay. There's one more thing I want to say about this, where in Nicaragua, where there's famously the rumor that Sash couldn't win because Sash and Jane Bright agreed to split the prize money. they conspire to split the prize money, and production found out about it, and they're like, well, you can't win, and they basically rigged the show against them, or not, they handicapped them in some way. And this is much talked about and probably almost confirmed, but I don't really know. I mean, I'm not running Survivor shows, but I've heard it a million times.
I think I would tend to side with the conspiracy on this one. It sounds right. And if you know, the Olympics are being cheated on by like when Russia has organized cheating at the Olympics, is it really like beyond the realm of, Survivor would never mess with the sanctity of Survivor, that CBS would never do that? Come on.
Do you think that Russian Survivor, everyone's on steroids?
No, obviously.
Where does Russian Survivor take place?
Probably in a Siberian gulag. That's my assumption.
You're not voted out. You just starved to death.
Like everyone else in Siberia.
Or you inhale black mold. And all right, so can we put Survivor Nicaragua to bed?
We can.
I think forever for me.
Forever for me, too. I'm never watching this one again.
Okay, so I'm going to move on now to my 34th.
I think I have to do 35 now. That was your
Oh, yeah, what's your 35?
Well, we get to talk about another one.
Oh, come on.
Yes, I know. I can't believe it. And guess what? It's Survivor Thailand.
Survivor Thailand. OMFG. I can't believe this. We're 6 for 6 now. 40,
the only
39.
note I wrote, this is the note I wrote. Just a miserable, miserable experience. That's it.
Well, I got to back up here. You'd say that was your number 35?
Yeah.
All right, then. I got to back up here. So, we're running long in terms of the show here, so I'll do my best to kind of get through this. I have barely any memory of this at all. Yeah. I'll talk about Borneo when I talk about it, but I came in late, full on into Survivor Australia, into Survivor Africa. Marquesas, I'm kind of wavering a little bit. And then Thailand, I have no memory of whatsoever. I think I was actually in Thailand when they filmed this, and I remember that. And then I came back and like, oh, my eyes have been open to the world, and I was starting to study, pursue my major career path in accounting or whatever, and I just wasn't into it. So I have barely any memory of the season, and I honestly think in my rankings that works in its favor because I have bad memories of other seasons. But the memories I have of this season, as fleeting as they are not good.
Yeah. It's hard. I don't have much to say about it either because I don't remember this season too well. I just remember the winner turns out to be a total scumbag. He's fucking
scumbag.
Total scumbag. Like on the show, he was relatively charismatic, and he seemed to be the only one who knew what the hell was going on. Right. There was just a lot of ugliness to that season. There was I think there was an alleged sexual assault in this season.
Yeah, Grindgate, Ted and Gandia.
Right, and then
the less said, the better. But the show totally just washed over it. They
totally did. Yeah,
and it was like this guy's rubbing his groin up against at night, just grinding up against some female. Just
Yeah, but you have to remember this is 2004 probably. Harvey Weinstein is at the top of the world. Bill Cosby's not a huge social pariah. It's a different time.
Sure, I'm grinding up against everyone I meet. I was in college at the time, just grinding away. Hey, standing in line to get a burrito. No, he's still not right. I would have known that at the time. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we had Go ahead.
No, you're good.
Just an ugly. We have that incident, and you have Rob strangling Clay, but I guess it's not that bad because Clay's an awful person too. So
I don't have a problem with that at all.
Who gives a shit? It's like when everyone is terrible, who cares who wins?
Yeah, it doesn't really matter who wins.
It doesn't matter.
And then I want to say that he didn't even win by a ton. What's the final vote in that thing?
I think it's a 4-3.
I want to say it's a 4-3.
No.
In that one, you'd think I could pull that up right now, but I think the voting things are down at the bottom here. Yeah, okay, here we go. So you got a 4-3 between Brian.
Clay gets 4-3.
Clay Jordan, which tells you all you need to know. These seasons, a lot of the time, were very close in terms of the vote. This is, I don't know, one of probably the most. I don't know if it's the worst final two or the most hated final two of all time, but you got.
It's not the worst because Richard did play. It's not Richard. Sorry, but what's the name?
I don't know.
So what's the winner's name? Sorry.
Brian Heidick?
Yeah, Brian Heidick. Brian Heidick is not the worst winner.
Okay. No, he's not the worst winner, but it's a terrible choice for the people who had to vote.
Yeah.
It's really a tough choice because both of those guys were not very nice people. But like you say, people didn't. Brian seems somewhat charismatic. I would be interested in rewatching this a little bit, but I tried a few years ago and I just couldn't get through it.
No.
So another big telling point about a season like this is I always look at, well, how many people did they bring back? Do you know how many people? They brought back Xian Huang.
And Xian was terrible.
She would make it into my top 10 list of worst returnees. Spoiler for that particular discussion. She would certainly make it in there. She's one of the least like two-timers of all time and really sucked on
All-Stars.
All-Stars. Just, I don't know how she made it on that cast. And that's really telling because All-Stars only had a roster of 7 seasons to choose from at the time they were casting for All-Stars, and they couldn't come up with anybody from this, including Heidik. So just, the winner plays a strong game, but he's universally hated. I just wrote that it has a real stink to it due to the cast, and I think that's true.
So the theme continues. It's the cast.
I just all throughout. It's all we're looking for is interesting people. Wow, fascinating. Okay, we're I guess 6 for 6 thus far in terms of our most. It's so funny.
I can't believe we hit that many times.
I'm a little surprised. You're like, well, there's going to be some big surprises here.
Guess not.
Well, it makes it at least easy for us to talk about stuff. This never happens on James Bonding.
No, it certainly
doesn't. They must
doesn't.
talk about it beforehand. All right. So I'm going to move on now to my 34th least favorite season of 34th favorite season of all time, I guess you could say. I think we might have some discrepancy here.
Okay.
This is Survivor. What number season is this? I think it's season 11, Survivor Guatemala.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
I take it no discussion?
Hey, with no discussion right now.
Oh, okay. So give us your 34 then.
My number 34 is, season 35, Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Triple H. Well,
yeah.
That'll be a neat one to get into when we get into it, but we're not going to do that now. I'm going to move on to I got to write down for you. I'm going to scroll up to where I've got Triple H. And sorry, you ranked it number, what was it, sir? 34?
34, yeah.
It's number 34. Okay, cool. So let's move on to my 33rd favorite season. And here we have Survivor Season 30, Worlds Apart.
Okay.
Okay, Season 30, Worlds Apart. Your 33.
Okay, so my 33 is number 32, Koah Rong, Brains versus Brawn versus Beauty, number 2.
Wow. Okay. So we've got that at 32 for Paul. Interesting. We're going to move down now to my 32nd favorite season, and that is Season 13, Survivor Cook Islands.
That low for Cook Islands. Shocking. Shocking. All right, we'll talk about it, but
okay, we're not talking about it yet.
Yeah.
Give me your season 32 then.
Season 32 for me is number 16, Gabon.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry, it's not 16. Gabon. What? Gabon should be season 17.
Gabon 17.
Yeah,
17. Come on.
Yeah, I know.
All right, I gotta go find Gabon on here, and sorry, that was season 30. That was the 32nd rank.
That was 32nd.
That was
right?
Okay. Good.
You just gave your 32nd, right? Yeah.
Yes, I did. So now I'm gonna move to my 31st favorite season. Wow, so we're getting some surprises in here. This is interesting. Yeah. You're gonna be surprised by this one too, I think. I don't think we're talking about this one anytime soon. My 31st favorite season of Survivor is season 14, Survivor Fiji.
Oh, interesting, because my 31st favorite season is Survivor number 14, Fiji.
Oh, we're going to talk about Survivor Fiji. Here we go. Well, I'll let you do the preamble. Tell me about why Survivor Fiji falls where it does.
It's an ugly season, just of people, like a mean season. I think that it is redeemed a little bit and moves up higher on my list because it does have a satisfying winner who seems just to be like a good dude, and it does give us the introduction of Yao Man, who's an interesting character. But the rest of it, Oh, it's hard. I mean, there's like the Rocky. Is that his name? Rocky. At some point,
Yeah.
is
Oh,
bullying
yeah.
somebody on there.
Yeah,
That
this
whole,
guy Anthony Robinson, who by all accounts is like a nice guy, and this group of jerks just are like super mean to him because he's kind of an effeminate guy, and they just like
yeah,
lay into him. That's the kind of stuff
yeah,
that you wouldn't see permitted anymore. You wouldn't have this kind of bullying stuff happen on the show.
yeah, absolutely. And this whole thing taints the season. And apart from that, it's just I don't. I mean, I guess I remember the booze in the final four.
Yeah, a
There's
good friend of Russell Hantz who made the top five, baby.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yao Man, Earl. I don't really know. I don't know.
Exactly. It falls off a little bit after that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, here's the thing with Fiji for me is that I'm kind of in and out of the show at this point. There's a period there where I'm not really paying close attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
I do like Earl as a winner. I thought the last few episodes of the show were pretty interesting, given the whole dreams. I remember, see, I have memories of this show where I remember the whole dreams situation where he promises somebody that he's going to do something if they step down in immunity, and then he votes them off anyway, or he promises he's going to give somebody a car. There's some thing where Dreams, this guy Dreams has one of the most blatant betrayals of another player, and I believe it's Yaman in the history of the game.
Yes.
And goes on to be one of the runners-up in the show. I do like Earl. I've listened to a few podcasts with Earl. Maybe that colors my take on Fiji, and I think he's just like a good dude. I think he's easily. The show's tried to recast him many times, and he's just like, I got other stuff to do. He runs some charitable organization. He's raising kids. He's like, no, Survivor's not everything for me. It's just something that happened to him in his life. I just don't remember that much about him. People say Earl's good, and I know he had one of the most dominant wins of all time. I think there's some sort of metric by if you measure out votes where people cast against you and then votes that you got at the end and various other factors. Earl is the #1 ranked winner of all time because it's something like a 9-0 or 11-0 or something stupid like that, however many people were on the show. I just don't remember that much about him. That Dreams debacle was pretty memorable. I don't have that much of a problem with what he did. I talked about how he promised somebody something and then he just didn't do it. I don't have a problem with that. I think it makes for good TV. At all. I think that's part of the show, and I think that's fun of it. It was one of the car challenges. They don't do the car challenge anymore. This might have been the last season where they did the car giveaway or whatever, because there was some like a car curse associated with it. But like, man,
are you surprised Dreams hasn't played again as a villain, or is he just too much of a flake to be a hero or a villain?
I just don't think he's likable enough to put back on television. Like, I don't know how many redeeming features a guy like Dreams has. I think he probably got whatever amount of money he got, and that was probably gone within 24 hours.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like I don't think I doubt very much, a guy like Dreams, who it just was really out of his element there, went and invested it in mutual funds. So
he factored into so much of that narrative, though. He probably got maybe because he made it to the final three, but
true.
He was prominently featured throughout most of that season.
No, that's true. An interesting character, not interesting enough to bring back, I don't think. This is just during a period that, I think I moved to Sweden, or I was in a relationship that took up a lot of my time, and it just wasn't a priority in my life. And I think I've rewatched some of it, but I don't think the entire thing. I do think I've seen every episode. Yeah, you've got some weird characters here, like Lisi Linares, who is one of the most detestable people who's ever been. I'm like, oh, she made the jury. That's shocking to me.
That's right.
Oh, and Edgardo, there's a scene where Edgardo gets voted out, and the look on his face. This is one of the all-time best blindsides, and this is probably when Jeff really starts latching onto blindsides, because this guy Edgardo is just, his mind is freaking blown. And I can't remember the dynamics of it, but
it was
his vote out
flipped. I think it was one of a Dreams flip. Yeah,
they were in some kind of a foursome, four horsemen or something like that. Yeah, and then Dreams flips and votes this guy's ass out, and he just does not see it coming. It's an amazing.
Here's something for reality show purveyors of reality show TV. Anytime you get four douchebags together, they will call themselves the Four Horsemen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, have you ever known groups of guys who have called themselves the Four Horsemen?
Sure.
I can think of 3 off the top of my head. People who were like ancillary characters in my life, where I'm like, oh, here comes. It's not like I was like, oh, the Four Horsemen coming. Here they come. Hey guys, hey, Four Horsemen here. They just like announced that they're there. But it turns out those Four Horsemen are guys who are like, the reason they're the Four Horsemen is because they needed a 4th guy to play Gauntlet together.
Right.
They needed someone to be the Valkyrie, and nobody wanted to do that. I don't know.
Or they liken themselves to the guys from Entourage, but they don't know they're all turtle.
This is true. Again, we look at cast here. Only one person from this entire cast. Is this a 20-person cast? Only one person from this cast returned to play again, and that was
Yao Man.
Yao Man Chan, who I think is great. I would have loved to see again. He's probably a little bit too old, and he didn't really get a fair shake in his subsequent seasons. So there's Fiji. Now we're getting into seasons that I don't hate, and I might, if I had enough free time, might get into watching again. Okay. Anything else you want to say about Fiji? I just don't have that much.
No, I haven't seen it in so long, and I don't remember much about it.
This is the first season they filmed in Fiji, and I think they filmed 10 there now or something like that. Anyway, I guess they liked it. Okay. Oh, we are going to move on now to my 30th ranked season. My 30th ranked season is ding, 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 ding. Survivor. Oh God, what number Survivor is this? It was one of the more recent ones. I'll give you the season number in a second. Heroes, Healers, Hustlers. All right. Which you ranked at number 34.
Yes.
Let's figure out which season. This was season 35. Okay. This is the season that gave us still only one returning player in Ben Driebergen, who played most recently, and I know you're a big fan of.
Oh, I love me some Ben Driebergen.
Yeah.
This is the note I wrote about this season. Okay. These are all people were in the final 6, and I wrote down Ashley Nolan ? Lauren Rimmer ? Devin Pinto ? Right?
Yeah.
I don't remember. This is 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
I remember things better from seasons I saw 18 years ago, and I watched every single episode of this, and I listened to podcasts about it, and I can't remember a fucking thing about this season.
I remember characters better from episodes of the show I never watched. Right? I know most of the Thailand characters for some reason. Looking at Ashley Nolan, no idea. See, that's funny. Lauren Rimmer, I remember being somewhat of a character, and people liked her because her name was Rimmer. But I tried to picture her in my head, and then I got her conflated with Elaine Stott, and then Denise Martin. She's just one of these rough around the edges, tell it like it is, busted can of biscuits.
Right.
Whatever. I like Dr. Mike a little bit. I can't guarantee you Dr. Mike's going to be back on the show. I'm looking through the list of people on this show. Really not memorable. Simone Nguyen, Patrick Bolton, Rourke. There's some attractive ladies on this show. I think Allie Elliott was one of the best-looking people they've ever had on the show. But hey, we're not here to rank the babe level. Devin Pinto. If we're ranking babes, Devin Pinto is right up at the top of my list.
He's kind of a goofy-looking guy.
He was kind of a goofy-looking guy. People thought that he was very attractive. It's so funny. Memories I have of this, and they're not. See, this is again these middle 30 seasons. I'm just I don't know what I'm doing here anymore. In some ways, I'm not as excited to write about this show. We're firmly in the era of the big moves era.
Yeah.
Right, where people are just swinging for the fences. And I think the show was, and not that I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I think this one was so contrived and tinkered with to allow Ben Driebergen to win. And I say that due to the introduction of the
I have no idea. What are we going?
Fire making challenge at Final Four.
I wrote that down here. Yes, first fire making challenge in my brutal.
I feel like the producers were back-pocketing that for a long time and were waiting to use it in a situation where they did not want somebody to go home and they wanted to throw somebody a bone. And they threw Ben Driebergen a bone here. Ben Bomb.
Ben Bomb. Why though to Ben this guy? Why did they change this for this?
I don't know why they loved it. Because he's like a veteran. Come on, it's America. They love their vets, man. They love their war vets. He got post-traumatic stress disorder. He's doing it for his kids.
This is one of those wins that falls in kind of like the Mike Holloway or Fabio type wins, where he doesn't really have a lot of social connections, doesn't have a lot of gameplay, not a lot of strategy, but he just wins in 5 straight or gets an idol along the way. And I don't know. I don't think that's people are like, well, he did everything he had to do. Is that good enough? I don't. That's
fine for Ben. And again, I don't hold it against people like him, but maybe the show starts to get a little broken when that's how you're getting your winners. He played the game that he had to play, but the show kept burying these idols, and he kept going out and finding all these idols and pulling them out of his ass. And
stop burying it under his sleeping bag. Found those idols pretty easily.
I woke up this morning and there was this bulge in my underwear. That's all I can do for Ben. Oh God. God, I can't do that. Can't do that voice. You gotta take over.
That looks rough. Yeah, no. Yeah, this season. This season is really is a long line of ones too, where it's just a real shoehorn narrative, and he really, where Jeff Probst really tries to drive home the as a healer or as a hustler, you're used to doing X, Y. Oh fuck! Oh no, just.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the start of that, but it's a real exemplary season for that kind of contrived, forced narrative where Jeff really leans into shit that the casting department or the production made up like 10 days before they went to shoot. What are we going to do?
If you want screen time, you have to play ball. That's the shitty thing about it.
That's the worst thing, is that these people really want to, and I don't know if everyone's like a camera whore, but everyone wants to go on the show and not make an ass out of themselves. And they can't say to production, well, I don't understand why I'm a healer. So I'm going to talk about other things. Like, yeah, Jeff, as a healer, I really want to do is help people. And the way that I do that in Survivor is by applying soothing balms or whatever it is.
That's just you're mocking it, but that's actually how it is.
Yeah. And so, you had some people who are, leaning in, and I can't even remember who sort of bought into that. It's the show. I rank it higher because than some of these other seasons, because I remember it pretty well. And I did think it was exciting what Ben was pulling off at the time. I think it is a mediocre cast at best. I don't think it's like a hateful cast, and I don't dislike specifically people on the show. But I do hate the fire making challenge very much. And Ben's the only person to return so far. I think that streak will probably stay alive for the rest of the show. I'm always surprised when
Ashley Nolan again.
No, but sometimes they'll pull people from nowhere, like we see Monica Culpepper again, right? So I'm not going to say that every single person is dead in the water. Sometimes people make an impression with production that we don't see on camera, and so that we get to see them again, like Francesca, who is voted out first in her original season, but her production really likes her and they bring her back again. I'm struggling. Like, runner-up Chrissy Hofbeck, maybe. Dr. Mike, maybe. I think that's
that's about it.
That's all we got there. That's all I got to say about Triple H. I just want to try and justify why I have it at 30 above some of the other ones, is because I don't actively dislike it, and I did find some of it to be entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that much higher than mine. It's 4 spots higher than mine. Yeah. I don't really have a problem with that ranking. Had you ranked it like 16, we'd have a real long chat about it. But
yeah, it's we're still really kind of lockstep here. I originally scheduled this chat to end at 10 p.m. I don't know if we have time to discuss any more. We got up to at least, I think we discussed 8 or 9 of them, because I got up to my 30th ranked season.
I should probably give you my 30th then, right?
Oh, yeah, of course you should. Yes.
Yeah. So my number 30 is number 36, Ghost Island.
Ooh, little GI. Okay, interesting. All right, well, we're not talking about it. So what do you figure? Do we run through it a little more? I don't know if Zoom cuts off. This is how amateurish and hackish I am at this. So
okay. Well, I say we see if it does. We go until we get one more. We talk about one more hit, and then.
Okay. Yeah, I have a feeling it's going to cut off. I wonder if there's some way for me to edit it, but I'm not going to try and figure that out right now, because that's not great showmanship. So my number 29 season is season 4, Survivor Marquesas.
Wow, 29. Okay. Well, we can't talk about it.
Nope. All right, then. Your season 29?
My season 29 is Survivor 34 Game Changers.
Oh.
Low, huh?
Well, Yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get to.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised where you put that.
Yeah.
At all. I'm not surprised where you put it all, but we're not talking about it.
Yeah.
We're going to try and talk about my 28th ranked season, which is season 32, Survivor Koh Rong, Brains, Bronze, Beauty 2.
There we
Brains,
go.
Bronze,
We
Beauty
got a
2.
match.
Oh, we do. Okay,
Yeah.
so, oh shoot, I was right. I'm supposed to be writing
Okay.
down where you had your various rankings there. Your 30th was what? Sorry.
30th was Ghost Island.
Right, okay. Okay, I just gotta punch that in. And then your 29th was
Game Changers.
Game Changers. Okay. Cool. So should we try and talk about Survivor Koh Rong? Or do you want to try and talk about this one?
Well, we can talk about it if you want.
Let's try and talk about this one, and then we'll see what happens to Zoom if it just, it gives us the hook. All right, so do you want to start off, Koh Rong?
I'll just give a quick. I don't have much to say about Koh Rong.
Sure.
I really just this one gets just lost in all the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
It's the shoehorn Brains versus Beauty, Brawn versus Beauty 2.
They didn't really lean into that at all.
No, they didn't really, but I think there's some ugliness with like Scott Pollard and then that bounty hunter guy that really kind of tainted the season a little bit for me.
Kyle Jason?
Yeah,
I hate Kyle Jason, and I hate Scott Pollard.
Yeah.
I even wrote this there. I think this was a very memorable cast, but I really hated Scott Pollard and Kyle Jason.
Yeah. No, me too. And I think that taints a lot of the season. I think does this have Cowboy in it?
Cowboy was on like season 4 or something.
No, I mean
Caleb Reynolds?
Yeah, is he on this?
Beast Mode Cowboy.
Is he on this one?
Not Cowboy. Okay, no, this is the original iteration of Beast Mode Cowboy.
Okay. Yeah.
Who we should have known would have been an awful human being because he was on Big Brother first.
Everyone who's on Big Brother is an awful human being.
Like Hayden Moss.
Yeah, actually, Hayden was pretty good. And also, I guess Rob Cesternino tried out for Big Brother first.
But he wasn't on it.
He wasn't on it, yeah. What else can I say about this? It has Michelle Fitzgerald as the winner. Not a satisfying winner, in my opinion.
At the time, I thought so. She's grown on me.
Yeah, I guess it's the first introduction of the Sia Award, I think.
Is this when Sia gets involved?
I believe so, because isn't Ty Tran the original recipient of the Sia Award?
Yeah, correct. Okay, I totally forgot. You know what? This is going to be an unpopular position. I don't hate the Sia Award.
Yeah, okay, sure, why not?
I think the reunion's so boring that
yeah,
I kind of like when Sia comes out.
Sure, bring in Sia, bring in Tyler Perry, bring in some kid in the audience who loves Malcolm. Who gives a shit anymore?
Look, if you're gonna bring in celebs, at least have them do something. Tyler Perry is just there to promote the latest Medea film. But Sia actually, I don't know. It was so weird when it happened. That's I don't know. I think it's kind of fun. Yeah. We all liked Ty. We all liked Ty Trang. We all liked him.
Sure. I was lukewarm on Ty, but yeah.
So
there's a good moment where he votes out what he did, where Scott Pollard's like, "Play the Idol, Ty," and Ty's like, "No, I'm not going to be playing the Idol." That's a fun moment. Yeah.
Just when you pooch Scott Pollard like that,
yeah.
That's incredible. Scott Pollard, by all accounts, terrible NBA human being. Probably good at basketball, but like just terrible. And just a bad person, probably. But what do I know? Maybe he's a real nice guy in real life. It did not come across remotely on the show, and I think this is true about this show. I mean, they can't make you into somebody that you're not. You say all the things that you say on the show. They will play up aspects of your personality, but all those things came out of Scott Pollard's mouth.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, what a dumbass. At the time, to me, it felt a little ugly. I did remember wanting Aubrey to win. I mean, Aubrey seemed so crappy when she started the season, and that kind of built for me, and I did sort of start to sympathize with her and, her character type there. And, she's just so unlikely as somebody who would go far in a game like that I was kind of rooting for her. Some of the sheen has come off Aubrey since then, and I think they really trotted her out way too much. It did produce. Look, this cast produced a number of returnees. Ty has come back. Aubrey's been back twice. Michelle's now been back, and I think Michelle was good on this season. I really do like Michelle. I probably don't think she should have won this season because I think it was a result of a bitter jury. Michelle knows that, and she kind of hates it. Debbie's come back. We forget that this is their introduction to Debbie Wanner. What are your feelings on Debbie?
Oh, I can't stand Debbie. That is no. She's too much for me. I guess she was okay in the first iteration. It's like, is this a female coach? And I didn't mind her as much. But again, I think she really kind of leaned into the wackiness of the Debbie character, right? And it becomes.
Yeah, she pulled a bit of a coach. She is for sure the female coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I mean, to see those two on a season together would be a nightmare. Or, I don't know, is that CBS Wednesday Night Gold?
No, it becomes too much. It's like when you're all the wacky sidekicks, right? You just cast all real wins. You know what? We don't need a straight man. That's stupid. We should just why don't we have all wacky sidekicks?
I don't know. I kind of want to get just like beakers full of all different kinds of poisonous chemicals and just pour them into one giant bucket and watch them combust, you know?
Why
I think
not
it'd be
at this point? Philip Shepard, throw him in there.
I'd take a big swig of it. Who else is in that realm who would just be probably a lot of earlier boots. These characters are pronounced because they survived a long time. If Phil Shepard is out one or two and Debbie, we don't get a chance to really get a lot of insight into them as humans. So I don't know if they get obviously returning, if they're coming back necessarily again. Are you still rolling there, by the way?
Am I rolling?
Yeah. Still good?
It still says it's recording, but if there's a lock next to it, I don't know.
Well, I'm just gonna keep going on this one until we run out of steam, because I assume. What's that?
Okay. Oh, if it's still rolling, great. Like it is. Yeah. I one thing I will say is I'm really upset about the season because Anna Kate got voted out really early, and Anna Kate has a very, very impressive rack.
Here's what I'll say about Anna Kate. I'm not going to dignify that, but Anna Kate's profile picture speaks for itself. Okay.
Yeah.
When Anna speaks for herself, Anna is incredibly right-wing and very alt-right Christian.
Is she really?
Very much. Like, of all the alt-right weirdos that have been on the show, she is probably one of the most prominent. She's into conspiracy theories. She hates the Obamas and Clintons. Look, and I'm not trying to get political here, but she is. If you're you're a conspiracy theorist on either side of that particular aisle, and thankfully we're Canadian and we really don't have to deal with this as a major part of our lives. But boy, oh boy, just hearing some of the stuff that comes out of her mouth, just like gun loving. Right. She's a professional poker player. I'm sure she's great at poker. I get the impression that she's not great at poker, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I'm getting that too. Like, you know what? They always make the analogy that poker and Survivor have a lot of similarities, and I guess they do. They're both games of well-timed aggression and patience. But fuck, do the poker players suck who play Survivor? No,
they're awful, and they always come across really poorly too.
They do. I mean, I guess the best is Survivor China's
Jean Robert.
Jean Robert, and that is the best of the lot.
Yeah, and he was kind of a reprehensible character he was for sure one of the major villains on that show. I just watched Cagayan, and we had Garrett Adelstein on there, who is just terrible at Survivor and unbelievably obnoxious. A great second boot, though, like really entertaining television, but you wouldn't want to see him for one more second that he was on the show.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Someone named Ronnie Barda played on a recent, I don't know.
First boot. He was the first boot.
I think he is a first boot on some season or something like that. So not crazy about poker players, and she is one of my least favorites. But
okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I should do my research more on this.
But it's fun if there's a revelation. We don't want to know everything going into this. I have a bit of lore up there that can razzle dazzle. I actually I put this down as one that I want to rewatch. I remember it quite well, but I want to see Michelle's game a little bit more. I want to see if Aubrey really, Aubrey's character really sticks with me again. I want to know if Tai Trang's return is justified. I kind of get the sense in some ways that they play up Tai Trang's accent in an almost racist way, which is annoying. I don't know. They had a 70-year-old on there, Joe Del Campo. That's kind of interesting. They had an 18-year-old who was on the show who,
Sorry, there's a 70-year-old on Brains versus Brawn versus Beauty too.
Joe Del Campo.
How can a 70-year-old be any one of those three? That might
Oh
be an
well,
ageist statement, but
he's brawn. I mean, the guy he's in better shape than I'll ever be in my entire life.
nah,
I
you
think
know
he
what?
got
At
like
70, it's
distended bowel or something like that because he ate some steak and they had to medevac him.
no matter how good you relatively look at 70, you could be pretty much tooled by any 30-year-old.
Yeah, and he struggled at the challenges.
Yeah.
This is why I'm really interested. So I would like to submit a casting video, and whether or not I get cast on the show is, up to the Survivor gods. But I'd love to get cast on this 16-year-old season because I think I could beat the crap out of almost anything. With just extreme prejudice because I don't mentally I don't like people that age. They're hard to deal with and get along with, and they're just weak. You just can't be like a strong. I'm sure some of them are faster than me. Great,
Right.
well, I'll push them over. It doesn't, I remember going into a mosh pit once, and I went back to a festival at the university when I was about 30, and I probably weighed what I weigh now, about 200 or so. And I went into this mosh pit, and then I'm not a mosh pit person, but I kind of wanted to get close to that particular band. And all these kids are there, these 21-year-old kids, and they're running in, and they're running right into me, and they're just falling down. And you can just walk through and push people out of your way. It's a real empowering feeling.
This sounds like a 21 Jump Street style wish fulfillment that you participated in.
I could absolutely look. I still look younger than Peter DeLuise looked in that show. No question.
Fair enough. Yeah.
No question. I'm sure Dustin Nguyen had aged well, but Peter DeLuise. Okay, so anything else that we want to say? I think this is one of this gives us Caleb Bengtson, who easily makes Beast Mode Cowboy my top 10 worst returnees of all time. Although I shouldn't mention that here because this is not his returning season. I kind of consider him that because he played Big Brother or whatever, but I freaking hate this guy. He's everything I hate about human beings. Wow. Stupid belt buckle and religious-y guy and spends too much time working on his glamour muscles only.
He's a walking, talking cliche.
Yeah, exactly, which I can see why he gets cast. Maybe Survivor loves that. Thankfully, they don't put too many people like that on. Like Big Brother casts an entire cast with people like him, whereas Survivor, once in a while, somebody sneaks on there. Maybe he's an okay person in real life. I have no idea. But I'll probably give this a rewatch at this time. At this point, though, when we're in season 32, I feel like we are firmly in the big moves era. Like everyone's swinging for the fences, and I'm not crazy about it.
Yeah. When do you think the big moves era started? Was that Fans vs. Favorites 2, or is it Fears versus Villains?
I think big moves era is really solidified. Big moves era at Cagayan.
Yeah.
I don't know. Tell me, we'll get into these other seasons, which we clearly like more. But I don't know if you're going crazy big moves. I do think you see a number of big moves in Heroes versus Villains for sure. Mm-hmm. But really, you start swinging for the fences. And when you watch Tony play, everyone's like, oh my God, like Tony won this. Not only did, Tony win the show, but he comes out, he's this huge character. He makes these amazing moves that are contrary to what you would expect somebody to do. And I'm sure that's just Tony. But a lot of other people now are like, oh, can I emulate Tony and pull off these big moves? And so that's where I think it really gets kicked into the next gear. And then by this season, we're really firmly in that era.
Sure.
Do we like the big moves era?
Oh, yeah. You know what? I like some aspects of the big moves era. I like the fact that everyone at a certain point is kind of looking to play. But I think a lot of the time you make moves for the sake of making moves. And if you're not Tony Glauchos, well, it's going to backfire. And a great example, we'll talk about this later, is Millennials versus Gen X, where everyone who makes a big move goes home the next episode.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, sometimes the biggest move, and most of the times the biggest move is not the best move. Mm-hmm. I think that's all I got for Koah Rong. Yourself?
Yeah, you don't have much else to say about Koah Rong.
Okay, well, I think this is probably a good place to wrap it up. I'm very keen to hear about your subsequent choices here as we move through the 40. But I think we probably got about 9 or 10 of them in, based on what I remember here, and we got to talk about a lot of them, which was exciting. There's a lot of crossover there.
Yeah, there was a lot of crossover.
Sure, but some of the ones you mentioned, and you mentioned this too, like 32 to 18, you're ranked somewhere in there. That's where it all gets kind of dicey, and I think we've got a lot of discrepancies. I don't want to give too much away about the ones that you've mentioned so far, but there's some we're not going to be talking about for a bit.
All right. Well, and there
Cool.
are some we are going to be talking about pretty soon. So
I think so. Yeah, I think that's also true.
Yeah.
Good. Well, this was great, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the time to discuss this with me. And those of you who have listened this far, yeah, what's wrong with you? What are you doing with your time?
Don't forget to like us and subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll send you a pizza roll. Don't forget to like us. Make a comment. Let us know in the comments below. Is there anything else we can shill? Are you promoting any products?
Well, I would like to say that I really am enjoying, during the coronavirus, having Corona beer.
Oh,
it's refreshing and light, and will not burn your tongue like what happened earlier.
Sure, but with your Corona beer, are there symptoms of the coronavirus that it emulates? Can you live the coronavirus experience through the consumption of Corona beer?
No, because everyone knows that 5G gives you coronavirus and not Corona beer, right?
Yeah, you're probably right. No. Bill Gates.
Right. Right.
Bill Gates gave people the coronavirus.
He has supervillain type money. I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess. No, you know what? No, this is not going to become a conspiracy theory podcast. Save those for another show. All right, so that was great. Those of you out there who are interested, we will be back shortly, and we will go through another 10 or 15 of these as soon as we can scrape together a little bit of time. But if you got this far with us talking about the shitty ones, man, you're going to want to tune in to listen to when we actually talk about stuff that we like, because there wasn't that much of it. There wasn't that much of these 10 seasons that we liked. It's amazing that we still watch this.
So I think with I think that there's only once we started to get up to like 30, 31, and you said, oh, maybe I'd watch this season again. I think that's probably at my point. No, the rest of the 9, I'm never watching it.
No, that's a good indicator that if you're looking to go back and watch some shows, guys, well, wait for the other 30 that we watched, and then you might want to dig into Koah Rong. All right, then. Well, let's wrap this one up. Thanks to Paul for joining me and all of our other great guests tonight. And we'll see you next time. Till then, got nothing else for you.